Welcome back to Benchmark. In our feature segment today, we bring you an exclusive interview with Jayant Wickramaratne, a director and CEO of Central Investments and Finance, a company which has recently ventured into the leasing arena and is reportedly making a success of this new arm of business. We also talked to Jayant Wickramaratne about Sri Lanka's microfinance segment. Are we doing enough to service communities in the war-torn northern and eastern provinces? Our spotlight guest also discusses the performance of the Colombo Stock Exchange in recent months, in particular the allegations of wide-scale irregularities such as insider trading and market volatility driven by short-term profit seekers. And is the IPO buzz fizzling out? Let's find out. Welcome to Benchmark, Jayant. Good to have you on the show. Now, when you look at the macroeconomy, how do you view the fiscal landscape as you see it?
I believe we are in the right direction. Rates are coming down and even inflation is controlled. Only thing we need to do more towards fiscal changes, especially on interest rates. But we need to have a level playing field for all the players in the market. So, but from the central bank, they need to do more towards finance industry, but in my personal view, I believe they are in the right direction.
Central Investment Finance Limited, CIFL, your company ventured into leasing and, as far as I can see, has been making a great success out of this new arm of business. Now, how much of this success is actually attributable to the SME sector?
In the leasing industry, there are 36 players in the market. We get large players, about 4 or 5 larger players who dominate the market in the leasing industry, and then the balance is medium and small. We come to the small, medium category where it all depends on the rates. So, based on your cost of borrowings, banks and larger finance companies, their cost of borrowings are small. So, because of that, they will be able to offer low rates and they get the prime customers. But medium and smaller customers have a problem. But SME sectors are not encouraged by bigger players because those are smaller tickets. So, because of that, smaller players can have a bigger margin, spread is high. So, if only thing, penetration is slow on the smaller companies because bigger companies are branching out. Smaller players have limited branch network. So, because of that, that is the only restrictions we have. But other than that, I believe smaller players are inroading to SMEs. I believe personally from our company side, we want to be the number one in SME down the road. So, maybe 3 to 5 years, we want to be the first or the number one in SME. So, we are working towards that.
How much progress has Sri Lanka made in the microfinance segment?
I was told that about 50% of our community, in the sense about 20 million or so population, about 50%, although it is not declared, are below or just on the poverty line. So, there is a lot of scope for microfinance. We go to the villages under district development level and appoint agents so that they can have groups of farmers or any person who have a skill. We offer finance. They don't have the capacity to go to bigger players like banks. We go to the village level, identify the skills people, identify whether they are craftsmen, whether they are village farmers or whether they do their own skills. Then only we get groups and then we offer a smaller level starting with 25,000 per loan. So, that has been immense successful. We are trying to branch out and expand our exposure, but only thing the funding is the issue for smaller companies. But if we have low cost funds, because recently with our IPO, we amassed about 400 million. So, we have the capacity to branch out. So, we expect that will give us a big quick start or a boost for us to expand in the country.
Now, for a very long time, microfinance and pawning have been intertwined. Now, most people don't view this very favorably because they feel that it is the exploitation of the poorest of the poor. How do you view this?
Actually, sometimes it relates to culture also. Some people doesn't want to show that they do pawning. They are scared that people will got to know. But we feel it's a business venture. For example, if you go to North, even during the crisis situation, they have been doing business by pawning and getting their loans. But what we feel is we need to set aside that cultural difference and use that as a product. I am a lender. I feel that we need to put all our eggs in not one basket, different baskets. So have a balanced portfolio, there will be a win for everybody.
Just last week, our stock exchange performed admirably. The indices rose while all the other indices around the world came down. But at the same time, there are the negativities. There are allegations of wide-scale irregularities, insider trading, market volatility driven by short-term profit seekers. Are you concerned by how the stock exchange is performing?
Major issue is we have limited companies. We have about 264 or something listed companies, but we have over 50,000 companies in Sri Lanka. So the limited share market makes limited purchasing, and we know that there are limited buyers, in the sense only few control the big market. Their retail market is very small, so they dominate the market. And I would say now, for example, when we went for the IPO, there are huge potential people who know what is a share is. They like it, but they don't know anything about it. So educate, and I mean, it's a CSE website is fine. I mean, they talk about programs, evaluation, all those things, but they need to go more than that to make people to be in the capital market rather than interest rates. Entrepreneurs should be encouraged to go for IPOs, increasing capital, no cost. So people, entrepreneurs should be encouraged, private companies should be encouraged to go for IPOs, so that they can raise capital without bank borrowings. So if that capital can be raised, the interest rates can further come down, the lending rates can further come down, the pricing of goods and commodities will come down, because on low cost funds they can manufacture at low cost. So the stock exchange must do more than this, rather than encouraging the limited players.
We now take a break for some messages from our sponsors. On the other side, Jayanth Vikramaratne discusses more issues in Sri Lanka's fiscal landscape. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. We now have more excerpts from our exclusive interview with Jayanth Vikramaratne. So what do you think the CSE and indeed the regulator, the SEC, should do to curb some of the rot and also the cowboys in the market?
I would say it's a difficult task unless they have the law backing them, but still it's difficult because of the limited market players and the companies. Because people will get scared, they will not invest if the law is too strong. There should be, they should give a free movement of capital, free market enterprises. They can't dictate terms. Only way is to expand the horizon and I mean basically expand the market. So I don't know whether there was a reason that inside trader there were some players who have been taken to task, but there are bigger players who are doing freely. So I mean, I would say no point in catching the small fish when you let go of a bigger fish.
So you were talking about 50,000 companies in Sri Lanka, but it seems to me that the IPO buzz has waned. It has been reported that only about 30 from the 60 or so prospects have listed thus far, probably fearing pricing shortfalls. Now, when do you think we might expect a change? Soon?
A good example is North. There is a CST branch where people still are not very confident on going to the stock market. People want to invest thinking that they'll get a reasonable return, but they are still scared to invest because they don't have confidence in the companies. So if you can build up the confidence levels of companies and more transparency on their P&L and balance sheet and their performance, and corporate governance comes to play. The central bank has after this golden key crisis has put forward reasonable corporate governance, so that the directors themselves are responsible, so that there will not be any manipulations, there won't be any, there will be more transparency. If that can be shown and if the public because there are huge potential in Sri Lanka. People still, I don't think in the stock market or the capital market even a smaller percentage is allocated there. If you take the capital, still people are going for conventional interest rates or conventional products. Still people are reluctant to go for capital markets. I know recently Central Bank put up a seminar saying that we need to go more than advising you get school bags, pencils, papers to attract depositors. We need to do more debt instruments and capital markets. I think that has to be driven.
Despite all this, even looking at the market, CIFL listed its shares in mid-August. So, in a sense, you're a new kid on the block. What made you go ahead with these plans?
Actually, we had only 2 owners in the company owning 100%. With the Golden Key collapse, all finance companies, smaller companies and big companies also was affected. But we managed to survive because there was strength in one shareholder. He felt that being major shareholder 100% or 96%, he can divest, still he can retain the holding. So, to raise more capital, no cost, so that we can be competitive in the market, he suggested that let's do our IPO. Although we didn't go on the right time, but still we managed to scrape through and still maintain a healthy above par pricing.
So, any comments from you on the cancellation of a full day's trading because, as we were told, due to a technical glitch? How did this affect investor confidence and sentiment?
It is a bad sign. People lose confidence, and during that day, particular day, a lot of traders or later investors would have lost or gained. So, I think CSE must do more to show to the public that these things, because these things cannot happen. So, they must have a backup all the time. My suggestion is they must have a backup, so that eventual things should not happen. So, that these are the areas they need to improve. They need to have more investor confidence. These technical things should be stopped. Expand to peripheries, branch out. I mean, we should not think, it should be more or less a service oriented. CSE cannot say that we need funds. It has to be more service oriented, so that they can get more investor involvement. I still feel that that is not good enough.
Are you satisfied with the prevailing stability of interest rates on the interest rate front, even though of course the cost of borrowing is quite high?
Whatever it is, our masses are more towards conventional savings. So, till that is broken and people are shown better returns, our interest rate will be still high. But I would say that our lending rates, the thing is, if you take banks, still we are talking about billion companies. We need to share the wealth. I mean, we need to, if you are in high bracket, we need to give lower rates for lending, so that people will be encouraged to have credit. So, basically still I see rates are around 20 above for lending. So, we need to have a lower rates on lending for. Simultaneously, we need to have a interest rate downward in their borrowings also.
What are your expectations and predictions for the next 6 to 12 months where interest rates are concerned?
At the moment, I believe it will remain as it is for the next 6 months. But our preference is it should come down further.
So, do you think, given this cost of borrowing, that the SME sector can be sustained going forward?
No. The reason behind it is, although cost of borrowings is low, other cost is high. So, because of that, if you take the entire cost of borrowings and the margins, the risk of margin, I mean, if there is a risk, there is a return. So, if the risk is high for SMEs, there is a huge risk. People see that there is a huge risk, but if you go towards the SMEs, I would say that they are more I would say favor to settlement than some of the big players in the market. They are more conscious about paying on time. So, we need to identify those people. So, if we can reduce the spread, now you know credit lines are given by Asian Development Bank. So, if we have a cap on the rates, then SME will grow. Otherwise, SME will be paying interest rate for the rest of their life.
That was Jayant Wickramaratne of Central Investments and Finance. The Voice of Business is coming up after the break. Stay with us.